Hi, thanks for joining us today to find out more about what's happening with the SR 99 closure and the upcoming years of traffic impacts in downtown Seattle. We're really glad you joined us, and we hope to give you lots of good information that'll help you plan and prepare. The viaduct, the Alaska Viaduct, or SR 99, through downtown is going to close permanently on Friday, January 11th. And while it's closed, and then when the Deep Bore Tunnel opens up afterwards, there's going to be a lot of traffic impacts and changes to how we get around. But that is not all over the next few years. On March 23rd, the downtown Seattle Transit Tunnel will become a light rail only facility, and the buses that are down in there will come up and travel on our surface streets downtown. The state's going to remove the viaduct beginning this February. We're going to have construction impacts from private projects like the Washington State Convention Center addition and the redevelopment of Key Arena. We're rebuilding the waterfront, and we're continuing to expand light rail. And taken all together, these projects really create like a bottleneck, a period of constraint, a Seattle squeeze, if you will, on our ability to move to and through downtown. But they'll all pay off, and we are headed somewhere good. Over the next few years, some of these really significant projects will be completed. We'll have hockey at Key Arena. The Washington State Convention Center will be expanded. The Central Waterfront will have 20 acres of public space. It'll connect up to the market and at Pioneer Square, and then on Pike and Pine Streets that are reimagined with better walking and bicycling facilities. They'll go past the convention center all the way up to Capitol Hill, and we're going to have more light rail. Light rail will extend to North Gate in 2021, the east side in 2023, and then we'll have additional expansions to Linwood, Redmond, and Federal Way in 2024. We've added 85,000 new people to the county in just the last 2 years. So these are the kinds of public spaces, destinations, and mobility we need to support our growing region. We're all very concerned. We're working here at the city really, really closely with our partners at the Washington State Department of Transportation, King County Metro, Sound Transit, and the Port of Seattle to put in place the types of projects that'll help people and goods be able to get through downtown, make it more manageable for everybody. The types of projects we're working on are those that'll make the most travel lanes open as possible, that will ask people to make the fewest drive-alone trips downtown during the busiest times, that'll help people take transit, and that will be about us watching traffic and responding to where it goes. So this gives you some information about the work that needs to happen on the tunnel leading up to the closure. So the tunnel itself, the Deep Bore Tunnel under Seattle, is almost done. They're just doing some final, testing and last minute items on it. We'll begin to feel the first impacts of the closure on Friday, January 4th. This is when the on and off ramps that are down near the stadiums will close. And so this will impact a lot of traffic, especially moving through SoDo. Then on Friday, January 11th, in the evening, the full SR 99 closure will begin. A lot of really important work has to happen so that we can actually use the tunnel. So during this time, the state will be taking out the temporary concrete, putting in the new concrete that gets us in and out of the tunnel at the 8 ramps. They're also going to have a grand opening celebration the weekend of February 2nd and 3rd, and you can find more about that at WashDOT's website. And then in early February, the tunnel will open. But there's still a little bit more work to do. There's one more ramp that'll help people coming up from the south end get off at South Dearborn Street. That could take another week or two to construct. So while it's a 3-week closure of the viaduct, what we're actually looking at is 5 or even 6 weeks of a significant traffic impact. Right after they get the tunnel open, then the state will begin the rest of the projects, including removal of the viaduct. So as you can see here, the closure will actually begin down at the West Seattle Bridge of SR 99, and it'll go all the way up to the south end of the Battery Street Tunnel. The Battery Street Tunnel will remain open during the closure, but it'll only be one lane in each direction. So we expect a lot of impacts to traffic at the 2 work zones, where they're actually at the south portal and the north portal, where they're doing most of the work. And all traffic that's trying to move to or through or next to those areas will be slowed down. But There's 90,000 vehicles that are using the viaduct today, and they're going to come off, and they're going to be looking for other pathways to and through downtown. So I-5, I-405, SR 520, I-90, and our downtown surface streets will all be impacted. So we really want people to be aware that they're going to be seeing longer travel times, even if they're not using SR 99 regularly. This graph here gives you an example of what we saw when the viaduct last closed. In 2016, there was a 9-day closure. And so the top graph is showing you travel times on I-90 westbound, so people coming into Seattle from Bellevue. And the bottom graph is showing you travel times from people coming up northbound on I-5 from Federal Way into Seattle. And what you can see is that if the orange line is when traffic started, how much longer the trips took, and when it started to get better. In the morning, you can see that it was significantly longer during the closure than it was both before and afterwards. So commutes start earlier, they last longer, and they can take people sometimes twice as long. And that's why we want everybody to be aware of the impacts of the closure so that they can plan and prepare. We expect that more people will take transit, more people will take light rail or sounder. Some people will try bicycling or walking, but all those modes will be impacted as well. So when the tunnel opens, travel and our transportation networks are fundamentally different. And one of the biggest changes is that we'll no longer have on and off ramps in downtown like we do today on Seneca and Columbia Street. The tunnel is going to be a great way to basically bypass downtown and get from, the south end down by the stadiums up to around Seattle Center. But for people who want to travel into and out of downtown, they're going to be using our surface streets. When Alaskan Way is rebuilt, it'll pair really well with the tunnel, and it'll be a great way for people to come down into downtown and then get onto surface streets. But it's going to take another 2 years for that street to be done. Additionally, the state will begin tolling the tunnel as early as this summer. They have not announced a date yet. Tolls will be $1 in the less busy times, and they'll range up to $2.25 with a good to go pass during the busiest travel times. And that will be in each direction. And we'll be learning more information about that as we get into 2019. So when the tunnel is open, the state still has 3 significant projects to complete. One is the removal of the Alaskan Way Viaduct. They'll begin all of these projects in February. That could take up to 6 months, but most of the construction on the central waterfront will be wrapped up by the beginning of the summer tourist season. The Battery Street Tunnel will take about 2 years to fill in and seal. They'll be putting a lot of concrete in there, removing all the utilities, and making some improvements to the surface streets. And then one of the exciting things is that we're going to be reconnecting our north surface streets between South Lake Union and the Uptown Lower Queen Anne neighborhood. Harrison will open up as a 2-way street when the tunnel opens. And then it'll take about another 15 months or so for them to fill in the Aurora Trench and reconnect Thomas and John. And that'll give us some great connectivity between those neighborhoods that we haven't had since SR 99 was constructed in the 1950s. So some of the projects that we are putting in place right now to help you move around is, first of all, we'll be in our Transportation Operations Center 24/7. This is where we watch traffic, where we see if there's crashes or incidents, where we send out incident response teams to help move those out of travel lanes as quickly as possible. We'll also have additional uniformed police officers in key locations to help keep people from blocking the box and to help prioritize the movement of transit. Transit's really important to how people get to work on a normal basis. About 50% of all people who work downtown take transit. And so to help keep those buses moving, we've been preparing for a while. Back in August, we extended the transit priority hours on 3rd Avenue. So they're now in place 7 days a week. We added a lot of bus trips on key metro routes back in September. And King County Metro is going to add additional water taxi service to help people from West Seattle get in. We've asked contractors doing work on key arterials downtown to move their construction out of the way during the closure. And we're also putting in place a number of temporary parking restrictions so that we can have as many travel lanes open as possible. We're also working with the big downtown employers and asking for everybody's part to look to see if they can work flexibly or work from home or form a carpool or a van pool for the first time, to minimize the number of drive alone trips that are happening during those busiest morning and afternoon commute times. The city also just launched a website called seattle.gov/traffic. You can get real-time corridor travel information here. You can subscribe to alerts. And twice a day, we'll send you an update that lets you know for your commonly traveled corridors what travel time is looking like right now and what it'll look like in about 45 minutes or so to help you plan and prepare. So just in one place, some of the impacts that we are looking forward to and planning for just in 2019, we've got construction impacts that are happening right now. We get into January and the first ramps of the viaduct close on the 4th. The full 3-week closure begins on January 11th. The state is hoping to open up the tunnel early in February. But they've got another ramp to complete, and then they'll start removing the viaduct and the other related projects. Then on March 23rd, the buses that are downtown using the transit tunnel underneath 3rd Avenue will come out, and they will begin traveling on our surface streets. Those are 7 significant routes that carry a ton of people, so we want to help them be informed and prepared for that next change. We'll begin construction of the new Alaskan Way this summer once the viaduct is gone, and then as early as this summer, tolling will begin on the SR 99 tunnel. As we get ready for the changes with the downtown Seattle Transit Tunnel becoming light rail only, we'll continue to work with partners who have third-party web applications like Google and Waze so they can have the best information that we have about travel times and construction impacts. We've also got 2 really significant projects that we're going to put in place. One is that there's going to be off-board fare payment for all the bus routes that are using 3rd Avenue. And if you use Rapid Ride today, you're probably familiar with how you can tap off-board with your Orca card. This helps people get onto buses more quickly. We're going to add this to all the routes on 3rd Avenue so that really important transit street can carry more buses more quickly and more reliably. We're also going to add a new transit pathway on 5th and 6th Avenues through downtown. This is for northbound buses, and this will help them maintain the speed at which they travel through downtown so that it's similar today, even when we have more buses moving on our downtown streets. So we do need your help. We need everybody's help as we get into the closure and then the subsequent Seattle squeeze. So we're just asking people to look at how they travel today and see if there's an opportunity for them to work flexibly. So maybe come in early or stay late. Maybe your employer is supporting that kind of effort now. Is it possible for you to take transit now? Maybe it's not, but you could form a carpool or join a van pool or give somebody else a ride so that their car is one less car on the streets. Here's some really helpful websites, so we ask you to check these out, and then please let your friends and family know so that on Monday, January 14th, everyone can be really, really prepared and no one is surprised that traffic is even tougher than normal. Thank you so much for your time today. Here is a page of helpful resources, websites, Twitter feeds, as well as emails to get your questions answered. Please send us your questions, and we look forward to hearing from you, and best of luck to everybody as we head into the SR 99 closure. Thanks.